Welcome back. Right now we are going to turn our attention to a new docuseries called Cal Fire. This series takes a deep dive into the stories behind the individuals who are on the front line fighting the horrible fires in California. Let's take a look at the conversation I had with executive producer Pat McGee and Cal Fire chief Thom Porter.
Thank you for having us.
So, Pat, tell me more about Cal Fire.
Well, Cal Fire is the premier firefighting agency in California, and we're just honored to be able to tell their story. As a storyteller, an opportunity to document what these guys do day in and day out is absolutely a chance of a lifetime. So we're very thankful and grateful.
Yeah. And Chief, tell me a little bit about your interaction and your part in this series.
Yeah, my part is a kind of a framing part. What really the series is about is embedding the crews that Pat and his team were able to with our fire crews, and getting a very up close, personal look at what firefighters do in Cal Fire, but also in what was a incredible wildland season for us. It's just, the viewer really gets a very visceral look at what we do.
And Pat, what originally attracted you to this project as executive producer?
I was brought on as an executive producer. I've done shows that are very sensitive, but the production company Third Force Productions and Triage, they worked with Cal Fire, and they got the access, and it's because of the history of the shows that they've done. I can tell you one thing, it's like, going on the front lines with these guys, we had to earn their trust, and it was never given to us. And so when you look at the actual taping and the filming of this, it was a gradual learning curve. And watching what they do up front day in and day out is absolutely jaw-dropping. I mean, it's an inspiration.
Well, and Chief, you mentioned it was a really rough fire season. Were you worried about having film crews and extra people there with your teams on the front line? And how did you balance that?
Absolutely. And the concern for lives of firefighters, anybody who's working with us, law enforcement, these crews that were with us became part of us, became part of our concerns day in and day out. And that's included with the just response. You may be going to an incident that turns out to be a non-incident, a false alarm. But there are all kinds of hazards that happen in that process, driving code 3 through intersections, very dangerous stuff. And when we have people with us, it does add to the stress. But I need to emphasize, we went through training, and Pat's teams went through training and talked every day about what the safety elements were that they were going to face. It was a little bit strange in the beginning of the season. There were times when we thought, when is the season ever going to kick off? And then toward the end, we thought, when is the season ever going to end? So it's been a real interesting season to be doing this project.
And I'm so looking forward to watching this. But Chief, were you worried about the safety of the crew being there with everyone else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I need to emphasize, there was a camaraderie that was developed, because these crews were not just come in for 6 or 8 hours and then go away and then just show up when an incident was happening. The crews were embedded all the time, waiting for the tones to go off, and they were there, working with the camera equipment, making sure that the helmet cams were just set right. Everything was being tuned, and there was that esprit de corps that occurs with a engine crew or a fire crew that was developed with the team as well.
And Pat, I know it might sound like I'm overemphasizing this safety feature, but I'm so fascinated by the camaraderie that was developed and how this actually was done. And I'm curious, when you look back on the season and as you think about viewers watching this series, what stands out to your mind?
It's a really good question. You know, honestly, every project and documentary that I do, going into it, you have expectations, but you never really know what it is until you're fully in it. And as a storyteller, you're always chasing the story, and you want to know what's going to happen at the end. But in my 20 years of doing this, I can honestly say I don't know what's going to happen in the next second. And that's what makes this what they do so important. I mean, they're making split second decisions that are going to affect their lives, our lives, and the people that they're serving, the people that they're protecting. And so it's absolutely outstanding, you know, what we went through. And I mean, we went through like red flag training, but it really is kind of learning on the fly. And that learning curve developed and the trust grew. And, you know, you became one with the crew. I mean, our crews, we had 4 teams across the state, and they were embedded with different stations. But at the end of the day, when there was a big fire, they would head out to that fire, work around the clock. And I think when firefighters are noticing that the camera operators got a 35-pound rig and they're going up a 4-mile hike, and just as a firefighter would have a 35-pound bag on their back. I mean, there's this sort of kind of mutual respect. Doesn't mean that we know anything about fire and we're following their lead. We're in their hip pocket. You're riding shotgun in some sort of suspenseful thriller that's life and death. And you know, I when people watch this weekend, their eyes are just going to be wide open, and they're going to understand what the men and women of CAL FIRE do and the sacrifices they make.
You know, I have so much admiration for these fire crews and these individuals right on the front line, risking their lives to help keep everyone safe and help fight these fires. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to both of you, Pat and Chief. You can watch CAL FIRE on Discovery Channel on Sundays. Thank you so much for being here on Park City Television.
Thank you.
Thank you.